let's do the tendencies of the Game of Thrones, since there's
Yeah.
so many tendencies in the Game of Thrones. If you
Oh
know
yeah,
Game of
do it. That
Thrones.
sounds fun.
Okay. Okay. Well, who are your favorite characters? Do you remember their name? Maybe you don't remember their
Yeah,
names off the
I'm
top of your
well,
head.
I'm not the greatest at that.
Okay.
I liked was it Anya Stark? Was it
Okay. So this is interesting. So the interesting thing about and this is really getting into the niche of like the four tendencies in Game of Thrones. So the interesting thing about the four tendencies in Game of Thrones is like it's like in everything, people can do it in a positive, constructive way, or they can do it in a negative way. And the fascinating thing about Game of Thrones is they would show both. So Arya Stark, who's
Arya, that's it,
okay,
yeah.
so we're going to do spoilers here. So Arya is the youngest daughter of the Stark family. She's the one that goes off. She gets trained by the Faceless Men. She's the one who, in the end, like plunges her knife into a very important place. Whatever. She's a rebel. And who else is a rebel? Cersei, the vengeful queen who's blowing up people left and right. They're both rebels. And in fact, their father, Cersei's father, Tywin Lannister, says to Arya, you remind me of my daughter, because they're both rebels. Okay, so one of the patterns that you see, a very prominent pattern in the tendencies, is if there is a rebel who's paired up either in romance or in work, they're almost always paired up with an obliger. Who's paired up with Cersei? Her brother and her lover, Jaime. Jaime Lannister is an obliger. He acts out of expectation. Okay, who else is an obliger? Jon Snow. Who else is an obliger? Daenerys Targaryen. This is a show all of the main stars are obligers, because obligers are the rock of the world. This is amazing. Obligers are often like, I don't want to be an obliger. I'm like, look at Game of Thrones. Would you be, then look, okay, and then there's something called Obliger Rebellion. That's what happens to Daenerys at the end, where she's like, I'm meeting people's expectations, and then suddenly I snap, and this I won't do. Sometimes people are like, well, I'm just not going to answer emails for 2 weeks, but she took a different turn. But then you look at the amazing upholders, Scott, the amazing upholders, Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah.
Right? So about the duty and like the honor and like following through on her word. And she meets Tywin Lannister, also an upholder. She meets Stannis Baratheon. What's the last thing he says to her? Go ahead, do your duty. A very upholder thing to say. And so, and then the rebel, and then the questioner. Well, the questioner is the imp. He's the one that's walking around being like, "Isn't there a better way to do this?"
Right.
So Tyrion is the one. Tyrion is the one. He is the questioner who says we should find a better way. This isn't the best way to run a government. This isn't the best way to run a country. I don't understand why things are this way. So anyway, once you see them, they're all over the place, and it really can make it easier, like to be parents to your kids or to deal with your boss or a client or a coworker, because you're like, oh, they just need accountability, or, oh, they don't want me telling them what to do, or they just need to give me a lot more reasons for why I'm asking them to do this.
Yeah, it makes it so fun when you can see characters in shows that people watch, or
Yes.
ways to really identify a different version outside of yourself.
Yes.
Because that can be challenging.
Exactly. Oh yeah. You can do. They're all over the place. It's funny. I mean, like, It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, that is like an obliger movie. Anyway, yeah,
I love that movie. It's my favorite Christmas movie, and people argue that it's not a Christmas movie, but for me, I love the fact that it's and it wasn't, I guess it was released on Christmas and or re-released because it didn't do well, and that's how it became a Christmas movie. It's a really interesting story.
But Scott, see, that's interesting that you love that movie, because ever since I was a child, I've disliked that movie intensely, and I think I've only watched it through one time. Because to me, I'm like, because as an upholder, I see the Jimmy Stewart character and I'm like, why are you not upholding your expectations for yourself? Why are you constantly rushing in and picking up the slack for everybody, letting them break their word, letting them take advantage of you? To me, it's a terrifying story of someone allowing themselves to be like overmastered by others, who, if he had just said like, what do you mean, brother? You said we were going to take turns. It's my turn. Come on. The brother would have been like, oh, okay. But if he's just like, well, if you're happy to stay, okay, I'll go about my business. I mean, anyway, don't get, and then he has Obliger Rebellion at the end, which is when he throws himself off the bridge. But fortunately, Clarence comes to save him. But again, Obliger Rebellion is when an obliger snaps because they feel exploited or taken advantage of or unheard. They feel taken advantage of, and they are taken advantage of, because upholders, questioners, and rebels, when we need somebody to go the extra mile, we always go to the questioner, the obliger, because they're the ones who are most likely to come through. I've had employers tell me they want to screen for obligers. They only want to hire obligers.
That's impressive. And I think I love movies like that because of the happy ending. He came to his
Mm-hmm.
senses. And
Yes.
so at the end of the day, I like the challenge, but I like that he finally realizes that the family is the most important thing. And, you know, he sees the beauty in the very life that he had. And to me, sometimes that's one of the challenges we all have in seeking happiness is we're spending so much time maybe not focused on the things that we have with gratitude and
Mm-hmm.
the
So
positive
true.
energy, and
So
we're
true.
spending it on all of the things we don't have or
Mm-hmm.
the things that someone else is doing. And it's such a dangerous place. And I think it's a great lead in to some of your research and some of the great books you've published, because I know you are a expert in the happiness space, talking about it all the time, helping
Yeah.
people find it. And I mean, just any thoughts on that in general?
No, I think you're exactly right. And the issue with gratitude is that it's very hard to remember to be grateful for what we have. It's like health. You know, it's just a cliche. You've got to remember to be grateful for your health, because there are many things that we notice them when there is a problem, but we don't notice them when they're going fine. Same thing with money. If you have enough money to pay your bills, you don't think about, oh my gosh, I feel so lucky. Here I am. I can write a check to cover whatever bill I have. Whereas if you have enough, it's very easy to take that for granted or to want more. And so I think this is why there are so many gratitude practices kind of like suggested, kind of through culture and even pop culture, because we all understand how easy it is to take for granted all the things that we already have.
Yeah, and I think as we age, we have this clarity lens that's a lot easier to see it. It's
Yeah.
like that hindsight that we're looking back on what helped make us who we are today. What are the challenges that made us stronger? And we look at it in a different direction, which I think it's really cool, because when I look at the secrets of adulthood, your latest book, and I look at how you break down all of these things that people can do that are secrets, but not so secret if we just
Right.
think about them, right?
Yes. Well, my favorite kind of secret of adulthood is one where somebody would read it and they would say, "Oh, I've had that thought many times myself. I never quite put it into words, but yes, I think the same way." When you have that kind of shock of recognition, when you read something or somebody tells you something where you're like, "Oh, that illuminates my own thoughts. Like now I understand more clearly what I've been thinking all along."
If you like clips like this, I have a similar clip here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.